Hey everybody, it's Captain Kyle and I'm here with the second in my series on Japanese Transformer characters we finally got. And in this video I'll be covering 6 of them. And as I go through these 11, wait a minute, I said 6, or is it 11? The answer is yes, and you'll see. There may be a few bonuses in here, you never know. But we're gonna go through these and we're gonna talk about where they came from and when we finally got them here in the US. We're in for a heck of a ride, so let's roll the bumper, be right back. Okay, so the first Transformer that was released in Japan, and not here, that I want to talk about in this video, is named Soundblaster. Yes, this is like one of the more recent ones, but Soundblaster came out in 1987, and initially he was the rebuilt and revived form of Soundwave, because he and Blaster decided to just stand in front of each other and shoot until they both fell down dead. Soundwave was rebuilt into Soundblaster, and Blaster was rebuilt into Twincast. Will we see him in a future? Of course we will, but not in this video. Right now we're talking about Soundblaster. Now, Soundblaster, again, came out in 1987, was kind of a black version of Soundwave, though he was retooled a bit, and his chest could hold 2 cassettes instead of 1. Now, there was a reissue that eventually came out, but that was a Japanese reissue, though oddly, there was a Toys R Us reissue of Soundwave that had the double cassette chest, and I have it over there. Never took it out of the box, it's just sitting there. But in Japan, when they came around to releasing Soundblaster again, it was in Galaxy Force in 2006. And he was basically the jet version of Soundwave made black. But we got one in 2009, though he wasn't called Soundblaster. He was called Electrostatic Soundwave. Yes, it was from the animated series, and he basically, like the one in the show, changed into a kind of SUV, and this one, instead of coming with a Laserbeak instrument, came with a Guitar that changed into Ratbat. Now, I've never taken this out of the package. One reason is because I already have the Soundwave out of the package, so it's the same mold, and it just kind of looks nice in there. So maybe one day, but some things I like to keep in package. Not a lot, but some. There was also an animated activator. I don't think I've ever gotten that one, but I'll keep an eye out for it because now I need it, now that I know it exists. And then another one I did not take out of the package was the Transformers Generations Fall of Cybertron Soundblaster. Now again, transforms exactly like the Soundwave, just a black version, includes buzzsaw instead of Laserbeak, and it's a very cool homage to the video game character, and he's very nice, very nice. I actually have a Soundwave also still in package, and one that is loose, though I'm not sure if I have a loose buzzsaw disc, or a loose Soundwave disc, or a loose Laserbeak disc, whatever the discs are called. I have a bunch of the discs, they're kind of cool. I also have the Blaster in this form, which is pretty neat. But then, in 2019, we got the War for Cybertron Siege version. So we got a whole bunch of different Soundblasters, just not the original, not even as a reissue, even though they could have very easily bought them over, even though we kind of have a blue reissue of Soundblaster. But yes, this was the one from Siege, and he does not change into a tape player. He changes into a funky spacecraft, aerial assault vehicle, something like that. But eventually, we got one that wasn't a Walmart exclusive, because this was part of the 35th anniversary, 5 long years ago. But we just got one in 2022. It was only a little fella, Core Class. And this one, being a repaint of the Core Class Soundwave, actually does change into a cassette player in a way that is very reminiscent of the original Soundwave and Soundblaster. So there he is in his boombox, micro cassette player mode, weapon storage on the back, and even comes with a non-transforming cassette that is supposed to be like Buzzsaw because it's got the yellow on the label. So it took a while, but from 1987 to, we got one back in 2010, 2009, but wasn't the same. This is actually the closest to the original, though I do have to say that they did remold the Siege one. It's not just a straight up recolor of Soundwave, because he does have a double cassette holding chest piece. So that's the first one on my list. Now the second one is something that came out in 1988. I'm speaking, of course, about God Ginrai. Yes, let's see if we can actually fit him in this. I think I gotta adjust the close-up cam because he's so tall. There he is. In the close-up cam, we've got God Ginrai. Now, this is actually the reissue, the one that came from Japan, that came out, you know, quite some time later. But the original, you might be looking at this and saying, well, this is just an oversized Powermaster Optimus Prime. Because they did actually release this mold, the reissue, in 2003, as a Toys R Us exclusive. It was Powermaster Prime with Apex armor. But if you take off the extensions, his lifts, so to speak, he does bear a great resemblance to Powermaster Optimus Prime, the original one that we got back in the 80s. Now, the difference between this one and the original Powermaster is, well, extending fists, and also the cab is die-cast. There's also some color differences with the gray. But in Japan, this was Super Ginrai. And Ginrai, it's actually this guy, the little Haikyuu Powermaster. In the US, he was Haikyuu. In Japan, if I can get him out, this little guy was a guy called Ginrai who found a trans-tech body that was actually meant for Optimus Prime and ended up taking over it. And when he was in his regular robot mode, because yes, there's like levels to this thing, was simply known as Ginrai. So, and on his back, of course, was Ginrai, but he was possessing this robot. He could merge with the trailer to become Super Ginrai, and eventually, and this is where the numbers get weird, he met up with a guy called God Bomber. I don't know the exact story, I didn't watch the whole series, but God Bomber was like a secondary trailer and then could merge with the Super Ginrai, however I'm saying it, I'm probably saying it wrong, Super Ginrai to form God Ginrai. So even though this is my second one, this is kind of 2 plus an additional 1, because God Bomber is people too. So these two merged together into God Ginrai, and we did finally get this set in 2003. But to go over a little bit more about this character, there was another version of Super Ginrai, not God Ginrai, released in Japan under the Transform Junior line, and here they are, mint in box. No, I'm not taking them out. I've never taken these guys out, but we basically have Ginrai and the trailer that he could merge with to form Super Ginrai. But wait, there's more. Because in 2014, there was a Knight Ginrai, who was a BotCon exclusive. Yeah, but he was kind of orange colored, more like Fire Guts God Ginrai. So he wasn't really this guy, he was more this guy. This was a Japanese exclusive released at the same time as they released the reissue of God Ginrai. They made a Fire Guts God Ginrai, and this is what he looks like in all his glory. So the BotCon one is actually based off of this version of Ginrai, or God Ginrai, or Fire Guts God Ginrai. Lots of Ginrai going around. Now, eventually, in the Titans Returns line, there was a Magnus Prime, whose little Titan Master is actually named Ginrai. Might be hard to see. I'll throw up a picture of him. So, we did get the actual toy, though named differently. It was in 2003, which was like 15 years later. And we've gotten other versions of the toy, though never the Transform Junior one. That would have been cool. So our second, and 2.5, is God Ginrai, with, you know, God Bomber as a bonus. However, the next one I want to talk about is a Japanese exclusive that came out in 2003. His name is Clampdown. He was an eHobby exclusive that was paired with Deep Cover, and they were sold as a set, but he's basically a kind of repaint, redeco of Red Alert or Sideswipe, same type of mold. Obviously he has the light bar here, and he's got the shoulder cannon, a very cool version of the character, kind of leaning back into the Diaclone days. I'm not as familiar with Diaclone as I should be, but there may have been a police car made from a Sideswipe mold that this guy is kind of an homage to. But there he is, a very cool Lamborghini police car, and rolls really well. So well that it shot the missile out of this. Sheesh. I'll get that soon because this guy might come by. Now, Clampdown, again, 2003. In 2015, they also made a Masterpiece version, who you may see at some point on this channel. We'll see. I have to decide whether or not I'm going to get them. Probably be a counterfeit reissue. But in 2015, there was a Masterpiece, but again, that was only released in Japan. It wasn't until 2022 in the Velocitron Speedia 500 collection that we got Clampdown. Again, a repaint of Sideswipe slash Red Alert, same type of mold, but a very cool homage to the original. You could decide to put the launcher on his shoulder if you want to make it more like the original. The gun is black instead of red, but we did finally, basically 19 years later, get a version of Clampdown. And I'm not even sure if all the fans were aware that this was a Japanese exclusive. Some may have figured he was just a brand new character or something like that, but nope. He was actually based on this original vehicle. And they have very similar deco. I believe I even did a versus review on these guys. Of course, you could plug his weapons into the side of this vehicle mode, which took away from the disguise, but added to the firepower. So Clampdown is my third on the list, or fourth, depending on how you're counting. Which leads to his partner in that set, who was Deep Cover. So this is the original Deep Cover. Again, a sideswipe, recolor, redeco. Very cool looking, the black and the blue detailing, very nice. And I'm not going to transform him. You've seen what sideswipes look like. But with him, he was not released in the Velocitron Speedia 500 collection. He was actually released first, well, kind of almost at the same time, in Generation Selects, which you could order through Hasbro Pulse, as again, a sideswipe reissue. Or you could get the one that was a Walmart exclusive, the Netflix version, who for some reason they made much more blue than black. Just to put them next to each other, you can see the deco is very different, but they have the same name. So again, 19 years later, 18 years later? 18 years later. The other one was 19. 18 years later, we did finally get a Deep Cover. So a very cool Japanese exclusive that, again, we finally got in the US. Yay! Now this next one goes to the Beast Wars era. It was actually an exclusive, a retool of Transmetal Cheetor, who was known as Metals Jaguar, or as we knew him in the US, Beast Wars Ravage. Now I no longer have the original. I did at one point. It went in the Great Purge. I do somewhere have the Tigertron Balcon exclusive based on the same mold. But this was something that was only released in Japan. I mean, he was a very sought-after character. He was only, I think, in a couple episodes of Beast Wars, but Decepticons forever, you know, we had to have him. Yeah, we got Tripedicus Agent in 2001, but it wasn't the same. It was a black Transmetal 2 Cheetor. So in 2021, which is like 22 years later, we finally got a US release of Covert Agent Ravage, the Tripedicus Counselor. So I've actually done a review on this guy, which I will link to in the description, and maybe I'll put it up here. I don't know, we'll see. But again, a retool remold of Cheetor, I believe, but with two guns. A very cool character. I'm actually surprised he was not more popular when he came out, just because he was such a cool character in the show. But 22 years after it came out, we got Covert Agent Ravage. Now the next one, well, one big mofo. This is Deathsaurus, and we finally got a much more accurate one. Now, Deathsaurus, or Deathsaurus, something like that, part of the Breast Force line in 1989. Yes, I said Breast Force. Stop laughing, Logan. Because he has two breast partners, his eagle breast dude and his, I think, tiger one, which actually attaches to his chest, and these things can come off very easily. But these are his breast partners. Yeah, grow up. Who can actually go into his chest by pushing in like so. They can become weapons. This is a pretty cool dude. And yes, you can put his tiger partner into the chest as well, and it becomes his chest shield. Very cool. This was a Haslab. And he comes with his throne, which actually has an accommodation for his very prominent back piece. This also is the base that you could attach something so that you can pose him and all these different things. He's a pretty tall dude. If you count the wings, he's about 13.5 inches tall. Now, the original one was only released in Japan, again, 1989. And then 16 years later, Botcon, who does a lot of stuff like that, in 2005 released the Descent into Evil set, which had a Deathsaurus. That Deathsaurus was a repaint of Car Robots Gigatron, aka Robots in Disguise Megatron. It might have been based on the later Galvatron or Devil Gigatron mold, so it may have been a 10 changer, but that was considered Deathsaurus. I think I might still have him somewhere. I'm not sure. He's probably stuck in a box somewhere. Also, when Leo Kaiser came out, there was Decepticon, who was a repaint and retooling of Skylynx, who was supposed to be this character. But this one that we received in 2023, which 34 years after the original? Wow. Yeah, he is the most accurate version to the original and to the cartoon. Probably more accurate than the actual original. And he does transform in a way that's not too complex into a giant chicken. Okay, he's supposed to be a griffin. I understand that, but looking at this face, I'm like, this is a chicken. Forget Chick-fil-A. Eat more burgers. Yes, Deathsaurus and his two breast masters, Eagle Chest and Tiger Chest, combine forces in this deadly trio, who I counted as one, but I guess that's three. Puts us up to 9, so who are the other two? We'll talk about that in a minute. But yes, we finally got a Deathsaurus, even if I do think he looks kind of a bit like a chicken, but I'm sure his firepower would be daunting to the Autobots. But he comes with Boater and Pogo? Something like that. They are the second half of the Micromaster Rescue Team, the first half which came with Victory Saber, the Haslab, and called Boater and Pogu or something like that, which we kind of got them already in the US a long time ago, called Sea-Watch and Fix-It. So I'm showing you 11. These two kind of don't count exactly because they're new versions of characters we already got. Okay, so 9 out of 6. Now I realize Chicken Head here has a lot of additional features that I haven't gone over in this video, and lots of weapons on the back and this throne. If you want me to do a full review, I know there's been a lot of reviews of this character, but if you want me to do my take and my full review on Deathsaurus here, please, by all means, let me know in the comments. So there you have it, 6/9/11-ish Transformers that we pretty much didn't get in the US until years later. Now, this is only part 2 of my series. I will be doing more, and I have seen some mentions in the comments of things that are already on my list. So don't worry, those will be coming up. And feel free to make more guesses. Who knows, you may inspire something that I didn't think about. But I'm very happy that these characters are now represented in the US. And what would I do without a Clampdown? Or a Deep Cover? Or a chicken? Okay, I know, but you gotta admit, he kind of looks like a killer chicken. So I will put links to all these guys in the description if you'd like to get them. Some of them are going to be a little pricey, some of them maybe not so much. But while you're mulling these guys over, and I certainly hope you're having fun with this series, as much fun as I'm having, even if, you know, now I'm kind of hungry for a chicken sandwich. But anyways, I hope you're having fun, and while you're mulling these guys over, you can check out the first one in this series right over here in case you missed that. And in the description, I'll put the link to the Clampdown versus review, just in case you want to check that out, and also my Covert Ravage review. And we will see you next time. As always, have fun and good hunting. Like a chicken.